Cryptographic systems are categorized along three independent dimensions. The first one is the operations that are used to transform the plain text into the ciphertext. And the two options that we have are substitution and transposition. In substitution, each element is getting replaced by any other element. But in transposition, we do not substitute a new element, rather, we rearrange the existing elements. So, if I have to give you an example, let's see the plain text, if it is hello, then H will be substituted by another element. Suppose it is substituted by K, E is substituted by H, L is substituted by O, again there is L, so O, and then O is substituted by R, right? So for every element in the plain text, we are substituting a new element in the ciphertext. And this way, hello is getting converted to Khur, and Khur does it not make any sense. So this is my ciphertext and this is my plain text. But one thing to notice over here is that each time an L is occurring, it is replaced by a constant element. That means that input element is one-to-one mapped with the output element. Alright, so in this case, this will be called as mono-alphabetic substitution cipher. But if this hello plain text was getting mapped to something like K, G, P, W, C, right? Now in this case, each occurrence of L, it is first time getting mapped to P, the second time it is getting mapped to W. That means one input element is getting mapped to multiple output elements. Therefore, in this case, it will be called as polyalphabetic substitution ciphers. So these two are the examples of the substitution cipher. This is monoalphabetic and this is polyalphabetic. In transposition, if my plain text is hello, then my ciphertext will be any combination of these elements only, because transposition says that the elements of the plain text are rearranged. So a possible rearrangement could be L, E, L, H, O maybe, or any other possible rearrangement of the same elements, right? And if you look at the frequency of elements in case of monoalphabetic cipher, they are maintained because each element is getting mapped to one exact element. But in case of polyalphabetic cipher, it is not getting maintained. Therefore, this one is prone to frequency analysis attacks, and we will talk about the frequency analysis later on. So this is one of the ways of categorizing the cryptographic system. Second is number of keys used. And in this, we have been consistently talking about the symmetric and the asymmetric key algorithms. Symmetric is all called as the single key algorithm or secret key method or conventional cryptography. The key used over here is generally represented by KS. So when there are two parties that wants to communicate certain data, suppose A and B, A for Alice and B for Bob. So when they are communicating, they would be exchanging the information and transforming the plain text into the ciphertext based on certain encryption algorithm acted upon by the secret key. The key for encryption and the key for decryption by the Bob is same, and therefore it is the symmetric key cryptography. If there is any other element, suppose Z, that you want to communicate to, now in this case a new key would be generated between A and Z, and a separate key would be generated between Z and B. Therefore, as the number of people keep on increasing, everybody will be having a different secret key with the other person. So this way, based on what key you are using, you will be able to identify that who is the person to whom you are talking. As far as these keys are not compromised, you can authenticate that who is there on the other end. But if these keys are compromised, then anybody can masquerade. Now, asymmetric key cryptography is also called as two key cryptography or public key cryptography. Now, this has got public key and a private key combination. So, these two keys have to be there at all cost. It cannot be that you can just generate public key and it is done. You need to have a public key and a private key. So, in this case, if there are two people that want to communicate to each other, suppose Alice and Bob, this Alice will be having two keys, that is Alice's private key and Alice's public key. B would be having B's private key and B's public key. If Alice wants to send a message to Bob, plain text, so this plain text has to be encrypted by some key. So it will be acted upon by some encryption algorithm, and the key that would be used over here is the public key of B, right? So B public key. And after this encryption, whatever ciphertext you have calculated would be sent to B. Now when this ciphertext reaches B, since I have used the public key of B, it will be decrypted by the private key of B. So always keep in mind, if you have encrypted anything with the public key of B, then the private key of B can only decrypt it. If you were encrypting this with the private key of A, then B could have decrypted it with the public key of A. Alright. So always the combination of the same person will be there in place. Okay. It cannot be that A can encrypt with its own private key and B will be decrypting it with the B's public key. No, it is not like that. These two are related through some link and these two are related through some mathematical relationship, right? And therefore you have to keep that in mind. So if you are encrypting anything with the B's public key, now public means that this key is available in the public domain and anybody who wants to communicate to any other party can use these public keys to encrypt the message and send. This pretty much means that once it has been encrypted, it can only be decrypted by the corresponding private key, and the private key is supposed to be the personal key of that particular entity that should not be exposed to anybody at any cost, right? And therefore in that way confidentiality is easily maintained, and we'll talk about it in greater length when we are discussing about the symmetric key after a few lectures. The third way is the way plain text is processed, and there are two ways again. There are block cipher and the stream cipher. For block cipher you can imagine matrix operations. So in matrix operations you have got a matrix, suppose 3 cross 3, which when multiplied by some 3 cross 3 matrix will result in a 3 cross 3 matrix. So if this is the matrix of the input elements which is multiplied by some key, it will give you the output elements 3 cross 3. So a block of input is getting converted to the block of output, right? So this is called as your block ciphers. And in stream ciphers you will be having one element at a time that would be getting converted to some other element based on substitution or transposition. Alright. So at the end remark, I would say that our main fundamental is to transform any plain text into the ciphertext, but always keep in mind that no information should ever lose. Whatever encryption algorithm or decryption algorithm you are employing, they should always be reversible because if you have converted your plain text into a ciphertext, you should be able to get the plain text back. All right. And the crypto systems that we will be studying after some very basic ones, we will find that the substitution and transposition, for example, in case of symmetric key cryptography, then the substitution and transposition are in itself a method of encryption, but a combination of various substitution boxes and the transposition boxes are used to create more complex and more attack resistant algorithms.